This movie opens with Lizzie reminiscing on her parents' divorced lives. Her parents were divorced when she was only 2 years old, and Lynn took care of her up until she became an adult, when all the trouble started. While in her younger years, in school one day, she tore her skin with a blade. Then her dad disappeared, after which she tried publishing the story of her dad leaving them. Lizzie's mom, Lynn, enters her room, telling her it is time for them to go to Lizzie's new school, Harvard. She tries to persuade Lynn to hold on a little longer, but Lynn isn't having any of that, telling Lizzie that it's the most important day of her life. Later on, Lynn is on a call with her mom, telling her how beautiful Lizzie is and informing her that she got a journalism scholarship as a writer. Later on, Lynn tries to educate Lizzie on what her first few days at her new school will be like. But Lizzie tells Lynn that she's not young anymore and that she does not have to go to Harvard before she becomes a writer. Lynn takes this the other way, thinking Lizzie wants to isolate herself as predicted by Lizzie's doctor. But Lizzie reassures her that she is still going to go to Harvard. Throughout their journey to school, she tells Lizzie about how young she was when she gave birth to her, and how Lizzie kept her sane, having no one to talk to after marrying her husband at a young age. When they arrive at the school hostel, Lynn is worried about how she will cope after realizing that her space is on the 5th floor. A young man comes to assist them, and as he does, Lynn converses well with him. On the other hand, Lizzie predicts that at any moment, Lynn will ask her for her approval of him, as she asks her for every one of her boyfriends. And just like that, Lynn asks her. Right after they say their farewells, while she walks towards the common hall, she remembers how Lynn has been her best friend right from when she was young, and how much she's helped her in her activities. In the end, she ends up at Harvard and surrounds herself with people she has something in common with. At the hall, her roommate Ruby walks up to her and introduces herself, having recognized her on Facebook. Ruby tells her how she relates to her story about her dad and the whole divorce, and that she finds it inspiring. Back in the room, Lizzie offers Ruby a cigarette and then tells her that now that they're at Harvard, they can do what they want. She wants them to be brilliant, dark, and sexy. The next day at school, she gets a lot of stares from boys, which she normally doesn't get before now. Along the way, her relationship with Ruby becomes closer by the day. One morning, while Ruby is on the bed asleep with her lover, Lizzie is typing a story about Lou Reed, a rock and roll singer. Later that evening, she is at a party where he sings and plays, and she feels drawn to him. Later on, she continues to write her fantasies of him. As she writes, a young man, Noah, comes towards her and asks her what she's writing about. And she tells him that she's writing a review of a piece of music, and he asks her that they both do some X, after which he gives her a pill to take. Later on, she begins to have hallucinations and sees Noah as Lou Reed, so she entertains his caresses. Later on, she writes about how enchanting she feels about Lou Reed and how she wants him to stop existing. Noah reads it, finds it interesting, and then asks her if she's going to sleep with him, and she allows him to as they make love. The next day, Lizzie tells Ruby about what she did with Noah and how it was her first time. Ruby doesn't believe her, but she tells her that she's telling the truth and suggests that they have a party to celebrate her loss of virginity. They make a card about it and share it for people to attend. When Noah sees it, he's not happy about it, and he confronts Lizzie about it, who tells him that it's meaningless to her, which he also reluctantly agrees to. Seeing Noah dancing with Ruby, she moves to a guy and takes him into a room to play with him. Shortly after, Ruby comes to tell Lizzie that she has a phone call from Rolling Stone. At a later time, Lizzie receives the College Journalism Award for 1985 for her Harvard Crimson piece on her music review, which makes her so excited. Lizzie tells Ruby about how an editor at Rolling Stone was coming to her as they approach their hostel before she says bye to her dad Donald. She quickly goes into cover so that he doesn't see her, angry that she has not seen him in 4 years. She remembers that she asked him when she was young if he was coming back, and he said he wasn't. Lizzie gets to the door of her room to find the picture on her doorstep. She begins to rant to Ruby about why he thinks he can come back to her life now after 4 years. But Ruby asks her to give him a try. Lizzie refuses, saying he's not been good to her and that the article she wrote was just a wish fulfillment, and that she only wrote how she wanted things to be, and how people talked about it made it seem real, and that it's just a dream, so she doesn't need him anymore. Lizzie continues to write other fantasies in her head as scribbles. Ruby feels concerned about Lizzie, seeing that she hasn't slept in days. It happens that she hears many whispers in her head and attempts to put them down, but they end up as muffled scribbles on her papers. Noah comes by and tells her nicely that she's starting to smell, and Ruby also tells her that her health is more important than her writing and she needs some sleep. Noah collects the papers from her, which makes her react violently, but he carries her and locks her up, saying she needs some medical help. At the hospital, Ruby's boyfriend Sam tries to calm her down, but she stops him, telling him that he didn't say that when she had his teeny weeny in her mouth. This statement catches Ruby's attention. Lizzie later gets examined and reveals to her doctor that she took some drugs, telling her to give her something to calm her down but not suggest therapy, as that has never worked for her. Lizzie later gets out of the hospital to find Ruby and Sam arguing over the statement Lizzie made. As Sam confesses to it, Ruby sees Lizzie just in time and pursues her. After pestering her, Lizzie tells Ruby that it was an accident, but Ruby gets furious at this, making Lizzie leave. The next morning, Lynn, who is now with Lizzie after receiving a phone call from Harvard, expresses her discontent over all that is happening with Lizzie, But Lizzie says she doesn't want to be like that either and that it has nothing to do with Lynn. Lynn then asked her why she is in a single room, and she tells her that she told the authorities that she couldn't live with other people because of her mental instability. This makes Lynn unhappy and she says she can't cope with all that's happening. Meanwhile, Lizzie remembers one time at the house when Lynn was raising her voice on a phone call with Donald as they argued about their parenting over Lizzie and who was actually there for her. Moving on, Lynn tells her that she's taken some days off work to come help her. But Lizzie says she will be fine all by herself as she needs to study and finish her work. Lynn then tells her that she should come home when it's her birthday so that they will celebrate it, and Lizzie agrees to this. Later on, after Lynn left, Lizzie tries to attend an ongoing party at Noah's, but he doesn't allow her in on the grounds that she still wants to get drunk and do drugs there. After a while, at the restaurant, Lizzie meets Ruby to talk to her. She apologizes to Ruby and tells her about how she misbehaves sometimes. But Ruby doesn't feel like talking about it, saying that it's a common thing and that's no excuse. After that, Lizzie is in a therapy session where she tells her therapist, Dr. Sterling, that she can't write anymore. Lizzie tells her that she just wants to live normally, no matter what happens to her. Later at home, Lynn prepares a lot of food for Lizzie's birthday and also invites her parents over. But instead, Lizzie goes to lock herself in her room and calls a new guy she met, Rhys, saying she's in need of a guy to turn on her heart and shut her brains. While on the call, Lynn comes in, but Lizzie rudely requests for some privacy, making Lynn sad again. And later, Rhys tells her that they should meet up when she gets back. At the table, Lynn is embarrassed by Lizzie, who is smoking and now drunk, making Lynn apologizes to Lizzie's grandma for Lizzie's actions. The next morning, Donald rings the phone to wish her a happy birthday. She accused him of his late wish and he apologizes, congratulating her on her position at Rolling Stones. Just then, Lynn comes by and asks her who she is talking to. She tries to deny who it is, but Lynn rants about how Donald wasn't there throughout her childhood and that she spends all her money on therapy. Lizzie denies this, saying Donald pays for it. But Lynn angrily shows her proof of how she has been the one paying for it. Lizzie then cries apologetically and they both hug themselves as she blames herself for hurting Lynn. But along the line, she switches to blaming Lynn for throwing her a party and somehow switches back to apologizing again to Lynn. This makes Lynn look dejected for this bipolar behavior. At therapy with Dr. Sterling the following day, it still doesn't end well as they don't come to any solid conclusion. Lizzie later sees Rhys, who comes to see her at a restaurant. After the date, she takes him to her room where they make love passionately, while she thinks that Rhys is her salvation. Later, she happily goes to meet Ruby, only to find Donald in the room. He tells her that he didn't know that she had moved rooms. In her thoughts, as Donald takes pictures of her and Ruby, she feels that Dr. Sterling must have called him to come get her straightened up, or maybe he actually missed her. Not long after, she rants to her father and asks why he's not been paying her medical bills, and he says it's her mother's responsibility and that Lizzie has been distant from him. Lizzie breaks down in tears, but he tells her that he doesn't like that she is in the middle of it all and he cannot do anything. Later on, she introduces Rhys to Lynn over the call as a sexy intellectual, and after the call, she tells Rhys that Lynn wants them to visit her one night at the bar as they dance, and while Rhys goes over to get some drinks for them, a girl flirts with Rhys, making Lizzie jealous. Rhys comes back and doesn't find Lizzie. Lizzie speaks with Dr. Sterling, who advises her to talk to Rhys about it, which she later does, and Rhys apologizes, but then they have a fight where he shouts at her to take things easy. He later apologizes to her and tells her that he loves her, after which he locks lips with her and they both have a steamy love session afterwards. Afterwards, he tells her that he won't be able to follow her home for the holidays as he has to attend to something. She doesn't feel happy about this and suggests that she will follow him. He doesn't agree with that, saying Lynn needs her more in her new house. Lizzie moves on to tell Dr. Sterling how she was able to handle this and how they're both happy. So, Lizzie visits Lynn in the new apartment and tells Lynn about Rhys. Later on, while she is at the restaurant with Ruby, as she tries to ring Rhys, Ruby tells her that is the 10th time and she might be disturbing him. Lizzie gets angry and cusses her before she leaves. Later, she speaks with Mrs. Stevenson, Rhys' mom, who tells her that Rhys is busy. She goes back to Ruby, who tells Lizzie that she's sorry for Lizzie and her condition, which makes Lizzie leave. Later on, Lizzie takes a flight to go see Rhys. When Rhys comes to see her at the airport, he tells her that there's something he hasn't told her and it's about his sister, who she later realizes, when she goes to his house, is autistic. That night, when he returns to her, she's annoyed at him for not telling her the truth and how he likes other people's misery. He's surprised by this and tells her that she's sick. Not long after, his sister has a crisis and his mom calls out to him. Lizzie calls Lynn, explains to her what's going on and apologizes to her for not telling her before leaving, which makes Lynn sad. Lizzie then starts to feel regret for coming and that she should have just listened to him and not come at all. At the airport, Rhys tells her that he does not want to have anything to do with her again, as he just wants to live a free life and have some fun. Later on, she goes to vent to Dr. Sterling, saying she thought her plans were working, but Sterling tells her that she should use her medication so that she can be under control. So, she takes these pills and Dr. Sterling tells her that it will take 2 to 6 weeks before her system responds. Meanwhile in New York, Lynn gets attacked by some thieves and they collect her purse and valuables. Having knowledge of this, Lizzie goes to meet Ruby to ask for her help to follow her to New York to see Lynn, but Ruby refuses to. So, Lizzie gets to the hospital alone and she is told that Lynn has refused some painkillers, but she will be fine. When Lynn wakes, Lizzie tells her that she will stay with her for a few days, despite Lynn insisting that she should not because of her exams. Later at the house, while Lizzie helps out, Lizzie's mom, in awe of Lizzie's behavior, tells Lynn that she is grateful Lizzie is around her at this time. Later that evening, when her grandparents are gone, Lizzie has a discussion with her mother, where she tells her that Rafe left her already. Lynn also talks about how Donald left her and how she felt bad after that time, but still decided to take care of her, wanting her to have a good life. As time goes on, Lizzie realizes that almost everyone uses the Prozac drug, and maybe, after all, we are all in a ProzacNation. Lizzie speaks with Dr. Sterling about how positively different she feels and attributes it to the drug. Sterling confirms this and tells her that, as this helps her, it is her choice to continue using it to keep her under control. Lizzie leaves for the restroom and tries to harm herself with a broken glass, but she doesn't bring herself to it as the presence of Dr. Sterling stops her. Afterwards, she starts to get stabilized as she gets back to writing as well, starting to live a good life again. Later on in life, Lizzie wrote the book ProzacNation, in which this movie is based on. We learn that Prozac does help Lizzie, but if you knew anything about her real life, she goes on to abuse drugs and snort Ritalin. It's a terribly sad ending for a lot of people. Do you know anyone who suffers from bipolar disorder or is on Prozac?
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.